Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of AZ Security. My name is Dion Paardenkoper. I'm a cloud security architect, and for today, I have Shruthi from Microsoft. Shruthi, could you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Shruti, and I am a solution engineer with Microsoft. I have done various roles within Microsoft, and today I'm here to talk about BGP communities when using Virtual WAN. With that, I pass it on Dinant.
Yeah, for everybody who's new to this topic, could you explain what it is?
Absolutely. Before we go into BGP communities when using secured virtual WAN hubs, I want to kickstart with what virtual WANs are. They are very widely and globally used by Azure customers. But let's just take a look at what they are. Let me start by sharing my screen. So we have different topologies on Azure, which can be using standalone VNets, or VNets are nothing but a logical network space that you own as a customer. And the topologies could range for, like I said, standalone VNets, hub and spoke topologies, where you have a hub with spoke VNets connected to it. Then is virtual WAN, which is a managed virtual hub similar to hub and spoke topology, but the difference is this hub here is managed by Microsoft or Azure for that matter. It helps you get connectivity between your spokes across different hubs. All this is supported natively. So think of it as an out of the box feature to get a full mesh kind of environment where you can add additional capabilities. So as you can see on the screen, this is a very vanilla VLAN setup where you have hubs connected to each other, everything is talking to each other. Now you can layer it with security. And before we get into security, it's not just communication within Azure. You also extend connectivity to your on-premises using ExpressRoute, VPNs, SD-WAN, you name it. We have pretty much everything supported within VWAN. And like I said, so this is very vanilla out of the box, full mesh, everything is talking to everything setup. You can always layer add security here with firewalls and for inbound, depending on what your service or application is, with web application firewall, application gateways. You can layer the entire architecture to make sure it is secure. So for today, what I have done is I'm going to talk about, like I said, communities. So communities, I'm going to start with why do we need in this scenario, what am I talking about, and how does it fit in this entire architecture. So with respect to security, I have my same vHub, the virtual WAN hub. Earlier, what I showed you was a multi region where I have multiple hubs. But to keep it simple here, because I'm talking about community, I am using a single hub in a single region, right? Connected to multiple virtual networks. And if you look at it, one of these virtual networks is NVAs. As you would know, SD-WANs are very popular these days. So SD-WAN solutions are implemented everywhere, and Azure supports different kinds of SD-WAN solutions. So very high possibility you have a SD-WAN hosted there, maybe same flavor you have on premise. And then you have tunnels built out of these SD-WANs back to your on-premise. But for simulating this, what I have done is I have put the SD-WAN in the VNet, but I have put a spoke VNet behind it and peered it. And I advertise this spoke prefix, which is 172.16/24, out of these NVAs out to VWAN. Now, when I do this, these routes are advertised to the spokes, to on-prem, if I have multiple ones, all of them. Whereas, like I said, that's the advantage of VWAN, right? It's out of the box, full mesh, the routes are advertised everywhere.
Okay.
Now, the advantage in this setup is it's not that, sure, routes are advertised, but you have the control. You inspect all your traffic, use threat intel, IDPS, all the advanced features that come up with Azure Firewall. Make use of all of that. Make sure the traffic is secured wherever it is being routed to. But one thing that comes up very often, again, you have to remember vWAN is a very enterprise solution. So if you look at it, it can grow quickly. You will have multiple routes being advertised from everywhere. And it might get to a point like, I'm not sure if I'm able to control all these routes, right? Meaning, what I'm trying to say is, sure, you can control the connectivity between VM2 all the way to the branch by filtering on Azure Firewall. But because the route advertisement would still happen, meaning this prefix will still be advertised all the way down to on premise. Now, okay, what is the problem with that as long as we can filter it? The problem is ExpressRoute Gateway connection has a limit of 1K or 1,000 prefixes. Now, as your vWAN environment grows, right, you can easily go over 1K prefix. And on top of that, like you said, the requirement, you don't want your resources that are sitting behind your SD-WAN to the branch. Let's say that is your requirement, right? Then why, you don't want the route to be advertised at all. Filtering, sure, but you don't want it to be advertised at all. So what is the option to overcome or ensure that you are within the 1K limit? And also, you don't want these routes to be advertised. How would you do that? So, what I have used in this scenario is a well known community that's called well known BGP community that's called No Advertise. I'm using that, I'm just tagging to ensure that my routes are tagged with that No Advertise community. And you will see that just out of the box, because of the nature of No Advertise community, which is to not advertise to any other BGP peer, which means from the NVA to the firewall, or I should say the routing service here, I have a BGP. So the route is advertised there, but not forwarded to any other BGP peer. So your on-prem or the branch never receives the route. That's what we achieve in this scenario. Later, I'm also going to talk about same result, but how will you achieve it using route paths, which is a native vWAN solution. Now, when we do this, keep in mind you still want your routes to be advertised to the spoke VNets because you still want this communication to happen. You just don't want this piece to happen. So let's start with, I spoke a lot. Let's start with something that actually shows what's happening.
Yeah. Will that 1K limit, will that be extended to higher? It feels like we are fixing the limitation, right?
So I would say no. So I don't see it going anytime soon. This is an expected behavior that you have to keep the routes within 1K limit,
Okay.
right? That's why we should always design based on that or around that.
Okay.
Okay. Before I go into this, let me just show you. So as you see in the architecture, what I've done is I have two express routes connected to the same virtual route. This makes sure the branch and branch routes are advertised. When using routing intent, that is the secure hub, spokes only always see RFC 1918 routes, which means it sees 10/8. That is what, and the other RFC 1980 prefixes. That's all that it sees. But on-prem will see the specific VNet prefixes. For example, /24 or even the NVA prefixes, spoke prefixes. When I say prefixes, it's the entire VNet prefixes. So a /24, /16, whatever my prefix is, all of it is advertised as is to the branch. So with that, what I'm going to show you is that First, I am learning these prefixes on the branch side or on the virtual router. I just want to show you that I learn it today before I do any no advertise or any well known community. So here I am. This is my virtual router setup. As you can see, let me just make sure we are on the yes. So as you can see, we have the prefixes. This is my remote spoke or indirect spoke prefixes, which is being advertised via the NVA. You see it on the route table. Okay, still loading. Here. So we have those prefixes. Now what I want to show you is we are going to do the configuration. Before I do the configuration, let's also look at make sure the connectivity is working. Let's do that. I'm just gonna bring up my VM screen. Yeah. So I'm just trying to see if using port 20T. This is my branch VM. So if you look at the design, I'm trying to connect from this branch to this prefix. And let's see if I can connect to it before I do any change. As you can see, TCP is successful. So this confirms I have connectivity today. And to validate, if you look at firewalls, you can see, so I have a pre-recorded result just to make it easier. From my branch to the destination, this proves that the traffic is going through the firewall. And because I have a rule that's allow, the traffic is allowed. Now let's add the no advertise community and see what happens.
Okay.
I've logged into two NVAs, and that at least that would be the standard setup where you'll have two NVAs backed up by load balancer. So I'm going to add the no advertise community configuration. This is standard BGP config. I'm going to add it to both of them. So nobody is advertising. So the configs are added. Now let's see what happens. Okay. Now if you see, the route is gone. So if you look at the BGP table, it is not there. And of course, it's not there on the route table either. So I didn't do anything in the config. All I did was attach a no advertise community, and that stops the advertisement.
It's quite fast.
Yes, pretty fast. Yes. Now, the advantage of this is, you have already familiar with how BGP works, SD-WAN works. You're using it probably in the on-prem, so you are very much in your familiar territory. But there could be certain scenarios, like the moment you do this, let's say you have another express route or another VPN that is using BGP, right? You will block the advertisement to all of them, right? Because that's what the community does. You attach the community. The role of no advertise is to not advertise to any BGP peers. The moment you do that, all your advertisements are stopped. Now, there might be scenarios where, hey, sure, I don't want to advertise it here, but there is a different circuit or different VPN that I want to advertise, right? You could have those kind of use cases. And let me be clear, there are always options, right? You could use some other community, drop it here, but then you're still hitting your 1K limit. Things like that is possible. What I'm getting to is let's talk about what is natively available on Virtual WAN. So let's come here. So now, absolutely the same setup. Nothing has changed except for the fact instead of no advertise community, I'm going to use something that is very native to VLAN, route maps. Anybody who's been in routing world, route maps is very commonly used. So we have a similar feature. Come up with VLAN from a community perspective. What you could do is, like I said, same setup. You have a secured VHub, spokes, and SD-WAN or NVA appliance that builds tunnel, and you have your on-prem. All the traffic goes through the firewall is secured. I'm not doing any communities right now. So what happens is, or what I want to get to is, I will attach a community on this connection that I have between the SD-WAN VNet and my virtual WAN hub and say, hey, attach a community here. So I attach a community here, right? That's all that I did. I just attached a community. If you leave it as is, the route gets advertised all the way because all you've done is you've just attached a community. And this is not a well-known community, right? So it does not have this predefined role where, hey, if you do this, it is not going to get advertised. So all I've done is I've attached a community. Now what? Okay, so what? Now, additionally, what I can do is I can go to my ExpressRoute connection, and in the outbound direction, I can say, hey, match for that community and drop the prefixes. So, meaning you can say you match on that community and your routes are not advertised anymore. Okay, that is great. Which means if you have additional circuits or another VPN tunnel or any kind of connections that you want to drop, you can do that. You have more flexibility, you have more control where you want to drop. Yeah, so that's how the route maps adds to more flexibility. So I want to show you the same thing that we did with no advertise, or how we do it with route maps. So let's move to, it's a different circuit now. So I'm going to just show you another circuit. You will see the routes are, you should still see the routes before we do the route map change. So you see in my route table, I have the route present. Now uh, let's move to the communities. I want to show you how we manage it. Now let me go to my hub. And inside my hub, I have something called as route maps. Now I have two of them, like I showed you. One is inbound from the NVA to the VHub just to add the community, and the second one is for the outbound. So right now, I've just added the route map that says, if you look at this, what does the rule say? It just says, hey, if the prefix matches to that scope prefix, that is 172.16/24, add this community. And I have attached this to, this is already done. I have attached this, as you can see, number of inbound connection is one. I have attached it to the NVA connection already. Now is the ER, or the express route connection. Here, what I'm saying is, let me just show you. Here I'm saying, hey, community contains, wherever match on this community. If it matches, drop it. Now I have not attached it to anything. That's why it is still, you can still see the prefixes when we saw. I'm going to go ahead and apply route map. I'm going to say outbound direction. I want to apply this route map to express route connection. Let's save it. So this might take a few minutes. So once this is done, let's see what happens. So my changes are saved. It is attached on the outbound direction down to express route. Now let's see what happens. So as you can, I refreshed it a little bit. So now you can see 172.16/24 route is gone, it don't exist because I dropped it. And like I said, this is native to VLAN. The advantage is the granular control that you get. If you have somebody managing the Azure management piece, they get to manage how they can control the advertisement. And
Basically,
if
you
you're
have
using
more control, right?
more control, and it's native to VLAN, right? That's also there. So it is something that Microsoft will support or help uh, if you run into any issues implementing what are the features that you're looking to do. We can help you with that. Now, it has no dependency on a third party.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about, okay, this is very good. We saw how it is being dropped, and how we can control, like I said, more granular control. So what else? Okay, how else can I use community with route maps? So we see route maps is used very widely because of a lot of features that it comes packed with. While we won't have time to touch on each of those features, I want to stick to communities. So let's talk about a multi-region setup, right? You have multiple VLAN hubs which is spread across the regions. That's the whole point of VLAN, to give you that enterprise scale where you have resources, multiple regions, all talking to each other with inspection and security led on top of it. Now, with ExpressRoute, for example, in this setup, I have removed the NBAs just to keep it simple, or SD-WAN. So let's say you have your spokes connected to East US V Hub and you're connecting to a branch data center there via ExpressRoute. Or you have another hub, and you have another hub in West US, which is again connected to different spokes, and you have connectivity back to on-prem data center branches through ExpressRoute. Now, because it is VLAN, all these routes, meaning spokes in east, spokes in west, all of them get advertised through both ExpressRoute, right? So they will look exactly the same when the branch receives it, meaning you will see an AS path of 12076. That's what ExpressRoute adds. So that's all that you will see. We do some internal, is path length manipulation. This of 20, but this is only for. Let me put it this way. This is only for hub to hub, meaning Azure will see it. ExpressRoute will also see it, but ExpressRoute will strip any private AS. So eventually, when your branch sees it, it'll only see a 12076. So what I'm trying to say is that this and this prefixes will look exactly same AS path length, and it might be a little more challenging unless you're maintaining all the prefixes, which is east route, which is west route, right? Then what we see customers really doing is they add a community here. They say, okay, let's just add a community here for each of them. So each region will have its own community, right? So once you add the communities for each of these, so you can say, for example, just an example, right? 65505 dot 255 is my community for spoke in east, and 266 is the community for spokes in west or east. So in short, what I'm saying is each region has its own community. That makes it easy for on-prem to identify which community belongs to which region. What do they want to do with the routing? Do they want to filter? They don't want to learn, they don't care about West US. Do they want to filter it here? Or they could also filter it here using route map. Or do they want to summarize it? Again, the same 1K thing, right? I want to learn, but I don't want to learn as is. I want to be able to summarize these prefixes. So I will add the community, and here I will say, hey, If that community exists, summarize it to this prefix. So you will summarize all these prefixes. For example, you can say, hey, this is 10.1/24, 10.1.1/24, maybe 10.1.2/24. So I'm going to summarize it here as 10.1.0.0/16. Anybody that has community, for example, 6 flex 5001/255, and that's what I put in here. So that gets all summarized and advertised down. So you still have to control the 1K prefixes. So this helps you with that. And this has been the biggest use case that I have seen. It helps you with that ease of summarization because you have community. You can still summarize based on prefixes, but that can get a little challenging, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have contiguous ranges, maybe you don't have, yeah, that can get a little challenging. So depending on what you have, how you have, communities just makes your life easier.
And more cleaner in the administration, I guess.
Absolutely, yes. Easier management, and like I said, just makes your life easier. So this is what I wanted to just convey, that how communities is such a useful tool. That's all that I have for today.
You touched upon a beautiful use case, especially with the 1K limitation. And now we finally have a solution and also make our administration more clear in the possibility just to do everything or just to administer on my own use case, so to speak, make it more clear and easier to adapt new changes. It's making more clear in the possibilities to have more control on your own hands, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Shruthi, I want to thank you very much for your explanation, for your presentation, and for your time, of course. And any last thoughts?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. This was great, and I hope this is useful for whoever is watching.
I hope so too. For everybody at home, I want to thank you very much for your time. Hopefully, this was very useful. If you have any thoughts or anything that you want to share, please leave them in the comments below. And otherwise, I would say thank you very much. Till next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.